the idea of spirituality in Hinduism is not being poor. It is a Western idea of spirituality. Why are you imposing it on us? And on top of that, Hindus accept it. They think that being poor is a virtue. That is the main corruption, that they think it is okay to be poor, it is okay to be like if you are spiritual then you should not have money, or that money is something dirty. The whole capitalism is based on acquiring that money dirtily, and that is why the money is being called dirty in today's world. It's not like money is actually dirty, but because the global capitalism is all about acquiring it by any means possible, and you will be worshipped for acquiring it by any means possible. That is why it has become dirty money. Not because money in itself is a neutral energy. It is an exchange energy. Would you call the air between you and me dirty in itself? No, but if it is polluted, then it gets corrupted. And that's what is happening with money. And the whole this Gandhian philosophy, and even before Gandhi, Hindus have been, their own values have been used against them. Their whole values have been twisted in such a way that they have been put in guilt for having those values.
By the concept of democracy, the concept of money, the concept of gold having value came from this culture 25,000 years ago into the human consciousness. Everyone else developed because Hindus had already developed along that path. They'd already taken the steps forward towards an economy while everyone else was eating rats out of a forest and living in caves.
And in that economy, even they tried to destroy it so much, but even the temples today, you can see, we had taps, we had planes, we had understanding that dinosaurs exist. We had so much history. 2 million books were burnt. Takshila and Nalanda University. 2 million books. Where do they exist in today's world? Is there any library which has 2 million books today?
See, the richness of the contribution of Hindus is something that has never been, taken up as a collective global narrative. It's not something that's taught in history classes across the globe, which if done rightfully, if everyone was given right credit for what they've actually contributed to the stream of humanity, the Hindu chapter in every country's history book would be the longest chapter as to how the contributions of this cultural nation, civilization has given us the foundations for everything we've then further developed on. Yes, we developed our own things on top of that. Yes, Japan, as an example, took the understandings that were brought through Bodhidharma from South India, bringing all these Shaiva Siddhanta traditions into Zen, and then Zen reaching into Japan, and then Japan developing on that for 400 years. They have every right to be proud of what they've developed on top of, but they have every responsibility to address where they got the knowledge from in the first place and teach that, because without that, we're destroying the roots of our understanding of humanity. We make ourselves radically unsovereign. We make ourselves completely dependent on the modern or current version of things that are happening when we don't know the story of how everything has come to be on this planet. There are enough of forces on the planet with huge amounts of wealth and power that are doing everything they can to suppress the actual historical understanding of humanity's past as it happened, as it exists. Every anomaly that goes against modern archaeology's understanding of the timeline of when human beings developed modern consciousness, completely suppressed. Either the person is killed, their research stolen, or they're completely destroyed publicly and their entire reputation destroyed by the other scientists around them, who are ultimately propagating ignorance by the choice to stand for the narrative of something without scientific application of simple inquiry into the possibility that human beings could have had civilizations 100,000 years ago that outdid what we had 10,000 years ago, and as far as our history books tell us, or as far as that archaeological data tells us, because no one's willing to fund digging deeper, literally.
No,
like,
they
literally
have
digging deeper.
information. They do not want it to come out.
Of course they have the information, but even that, the people who are funding archaeological digs on the planet do not fund the dig past a certain depth because they have already accepted that there could be no proofs of conscious human civilization underneath this certain depth of layer under the ground. And it's such a hilarious ignorance that we accept. And of course, not everything needs to be proven scientifically, factually, as per archaeology for it to have legitimacy. Every other culture's past is accepted by the historical records, XYZ written books, and things that are kept up. And of course, when it comes to the Hindu indigenous writing systems and ways of keeping things alive across time, like it being an oratory tradition for hundreds of thousands of years before it became a written tradition, and still it became a written tradition before every other culture had a tradition. The writings of that culture are deemed as fake mythology and stories, while every other culture's written records are considered glorious fact. Why? Because we've been programmed to not accept that the story we've been told is wrong, and there are agendas behind what we are taught. The agendas
are not like recent. They are centuries old. They are as old as 9th century. That enlightened civilization needs to come down. This was not planned yesterday. People should not be enlightened, empowered. It was not planned yesterday. It has been happening. So that is why in one lifetime people are not able to understand these things. That is why there are, new age religions basically, which are diverting you from reality. Religion is no longer something that takes you towards reality. It is more of a diversion or something that keeps you in check for the, these like war on consciousness to be fulfilled. And these things are so like overcoated over everything because still the human mind still needs some entertainment. It won't be diverted. It will want truth. So there are many layers of how to divert you so that in one lifetime, in 100 years, you can only find limited information and then you will die with it, and who's gonna believe you?
Because literally other cultures could not fathom what Sanatana Dharma actually is. They put it in the label of religion, label they developed and invented, the label of religion, which delegitimizes the information within that thing to a belief system, which is totally something that has nothing to do with Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma. But as an example, right, if we are to say what religion is, then there is only one religion.
Yeah.
Sanatana Dharma is the only, if you want to make the category of religion as preceptor of the world to teach the knowledge of reality to the world, the only religion that exists is Sanatana Dharma, who is scientifically acid washing itself every single generation to make sure what it's sharing is true and stands the test of time. And has, however, they got it from Sanatana Dharma. You want to say Buddhism, you want to say Jesus, you want to say Muhammad, you want to say whoever. The inheritance of the religious traditions, rites, rituals, etc. are all inheritance come through the Hindu understandings, lineages, and cultural developments. So if there is religion, the only religion should be Sanatana Dharma at this point in the timeline.
And you see the paradox here. All the new age religion claim that they are the only religion.
Exactly.
Because this idea was present that dharma is something that you're born with. It is not something that you're put into. It's not something that you're made into. It's something that you're born with. That idea was there centuries ago. Now they made dharma itself into something that can be made into, and that you can be made into, converted into that. That is why the whole confusion. So like tying back the topic together of Hindu history, of Sanatan history, what I was saying, that how Kali Yuga has come about and has empowered the ignorance, and in this Kali Yuga the main thing is that you're yourself in awareness, so that you can know that which thing is the diversion and which thing is the truth if you are in pursuit of truth. Because not everyone in this lifetime will be in pursuit of truth, will need to they are just burning their karmas on the earth. So not everyone needs to be awakened to this, but if you are, you need to be in awareness of what is diverting you and what is taking you towards the truth. And the truth in today's world is often very maligned, very like painted with a lot of evil on it, the evil which is being projected on it, which is why, because it is, as I said, the war on consciousness is from centuries old, is not from today. And it's not just that Hindu tradition is only Sanatani tradition, what you counted, Buddhism, Jainism and all these, and Ism is also like a wrong way to say about these sampradayas. These are all developed from the common understanding of oneness, and there were many. In Egypt they were there. They were spread across the Arab. They were goddesses worshipped across the whole globe, and they all of them had the understanding of this Sanatan, of this eternal. Sanatan means eternity.
And mind you, the ancient most cultures in every continent, none of them claim that they invented what they had as
were inheritors.
Civilizational knowledge. Exactly. They claimed that they were given it by super conscious entities from other planets and planes, and even human beings that came from other places with this knowledge. And who do you think those people were? Hindus. Or beings that Hindus have been relating with, or at least have the names of, or at least know the location in the universe of, and have been relating with for hundreds of thousands of years. Those are the beings that came down and gave the seed to the start of every ancient civilization, and those cultures respected and openly claimed that they were given it. Whether you're talking about Mesoamerica, ancient Mayan and Aztec and Incan cultures, or whether you're talking about the ancient cultures of Africa, Dogon tribes and XYZ, every culture claims that they were receiving this knowledge. They've received this knowledge from superconscious entities, the same superconscious entities that Hinduism addresses and gives right understanding about. That's it. And the idea is that, okay, you could, through the lens of someone who's listening, who's, based on whatever their belief systems are, but them listening to us talk like this, they could see it as, I'm a fanatic Hindu sharing my understanding the same way you see a preacher standing on the side of the road telling everybody who goes by that they're a sinner and is going to go to hell, and is talking like that. I'm not a fanatic Hindu. I'm well researched in ancient history. That's it. I did the research for myself, and it turns out Hindus are the source. So I went back to the source knowledge to get the closest thing to the truth that I could possibly find that's available on Earth. And that ultimately developed into a clarity of the value of being Hindu in lifestyle and in understanding. But all of what I'm speaking is just well-researched understanding of history. It's got nothing to do with a religious identity. I'm not a fanatic telling you your religion's wrong. I just know where your religion came from. It's not wrong. I'm not telling you to stop believing in Jesus. I'm just saying Jesus was an initiated sannyasi of the Mahanirvana Akada. He spent time in Kashmir and Tibet and North India, and as a part of that Shaiva lineage, then went back and with the super conscious understanding powers and conscious awakening that he received, shared what the miraculous life of Jesus that Christians have come to know after the age of 30, after he was basically an initiated Hindu. Only then the world knows him as Jesus. Before that, he was just the kid, the son of God, XYZ, in his childhood form. But all the stories of Jesus that are there as to the New Testament, his growth, his life, and all the miracles he did, all came after he was literally welcomed with open arms and brought into the Hindu fold and given all the initiations, blessings, and awareness that the Hindus 2,000 years ago had to share with him. And then only the religion developed around those things without any context or explanation, because the Aramaic people of his region had no understanding of who the Hindus were or who had given him that capacity, and so they ascribed it to whatever they knew as God and gave him a divinity that put him on a pedestal out of reach, when actually he was a part of a sampradaya and was initiated to become who he was, and there is a science to make you into whatever Jesus became, and that science still exists, and it's owned responsibly and shared responsibly and openly with anyone who cares to become divine themselves by the people who have always been in tune and studying and researching and keeping alive at the sake of thousands and hundreds of millions of lives sacrificed to keep that lineage alive, to keep that knowledge available so every other culture on the planet could benefit from it, is the sacrifice that Sanatana Dharma has gone through in the last 50,000 years. And so every person on the planet, every culture on the planet, every country on the planet owes something to Hindus, and at least should address the value that understanding has, that contributions have, whether that's mathematics, science, religion, understandings of spirituality, money, understandings of spirituality, money, currency, government law, sex. We are literally belligerent monkeys without the contributions of Hindus.
Vigyan, which is the Sanskrit word for, it's not science. Vigyan का मतलब होता है without knowing the entire knowledge, the knowledge that can be made into a technology and used by the other person is what is Vigyan. So what you are saying, that all the topics in which like Sanatan has contributed to the world, and I tell you, it is not, Sanatan is not something that the politics created 10 years ago, or like in 1947 Hindustan was created. That's not. Sanatan is from the time when Bhagirath got Ganga to the earth, and on the ghats of Ganga there were all these universities built, including the Tapovan, including the Kashi. So these all universities in which people from around the globe came and took their education in. Why? Because when Bhagirath brought Ganga to the earth, he also brought the consciousness from Kailash. But he brought that consciousness. Shiva himself, why should God like Shiva help humanity? He is the Adi Purush. Why should he help humanity? It is due to our ancestors like Bhagirath and many others who bought things from these lokas, from these dimensions to earth, from these different lokas. And lokas also follow the same paddhatis. That is why it is Sanatan. Dharma is not religion. Dharma means the spiritual blueprint that one soul has, that one entity has. That is the Dharma. And Sanatan means eternal. So the eternal blueprint that spread across the lokas, across the dimensions of existence. Not just this loka, not just the solar system, but through the galaxies, through the universes it spreads across. So if you are not aligning with that, you will not feel fulfilled. You will feel there is something missing. You will, because you will be living a fantasy, and human visualization is the big tool, superhuman tool that humans have been given. The visualizations that we have while reading a book, or why the books are so important, because you get visualizations while reading the book. The visualizations that you cherish, the things that are put into your imagination / visualization are very important. So when on a Ganga Ghat, why it is important to go to Kashmir as a region was so important to the people who went there for enlightenment, is because nature supports enlightenment. Nature shows you the signs that enlightenment is flowering. Same thing that happens in around Ganga. Nobody says this, and I don't think nobody is even talking about it. Something came to my mind few days ago. Then why are we building so many dams on these rivers, which are literally the dams, the forests? These are the, like fortune bringers of enlightenment. These are the things around which the basins flourish, the humans. Because if humans are not happy, when will they be happy? When they will be well fed, when they will see the miracles in nature, then they will be happy. Without peace and happiness, these higher frequencies cannot be achieved. So we need our jungles, we need our rivers, we need our gifts of our ancestors to be preserved in all they do. They are not to be given away to the government to make money on or to capitalize on. They are not for that. They are to be preserved. They are to be, and the humans who are preserving these knowledge, the sampradaya, the sadhu samaj, the ones who are preserving these knowledge, they need to be respected. They need to be given place in the society. So that abhi to kya hai right now, what you were saying, that people are so much they will go after the person who's talking about enlightenment publicly. So, and this is not from today again. The war on consciousness is from the invasion time period, that these people by Britishers, they were made into something that is wrong. You know that Devadasis, the yoginis, the dancers of those times, which were at that time, because the whole Britisher thing was Christian, they said that these are seductresses. Those were healers of that time. They were expert in yoga, they were expert in tantras, they were and they were made into, either they were criminalized and made into prostitution actually.
And yes, and through the lens of your violently suppressed Christian mind 1,000 years ago, you were the one that was sexualizing that woman dancing.
Yeah.
Not the people around them, not the Hindu priests and pundits.
They were seeing them as humans first.
They were
not
seeing them as divine. You saw them as prostitutes because you were prostituted your own conscious and sexual energy out to an understanding outside of yourself that made it demonic and wrong to engage in the physical reproduction system of your own body. So then when you encountered flourishing, thriving, sexually fulfilled beings out of another continent, you demonized it and made it seem archaic and low class and whatever, indigenously dirty. Totally wrong understanding, because you guys were the dirty ones, you guys were the suppressed ones, the guilty ones, the ones carrying self-hatred, violence against their own sexual energy and expression. Everything is done in a roundabout, a very vicious roundabout way. As an example, right? The entire understanding around warming, the need to preserve our forests, the need for us to save the earth and save the trees. We Hindus were worshipping the trees and never have stopped worshipping the trees the whole time. But you guys then claim that now, though, we wanted to cut down all the trees, and then now we've come to the understanding that we need to save the trees, and now it's our idea that we need to globally save the environment. No, you stole even that idea from the indigenous culture. That's one example only. But so many examples are there where the same thing that was originally an indigenous understanding has been now claimed. As an example, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, all the developments in the study of consciousness itself and the nature of the microparticles of the universe is something that was already being done on research and development on for hundreds of thousands of years in Hindu lineages, so powerfully so that the rishis were able to intercept actual conversations happening in higher dimensional planes between higher dimensional entities and relay those conversations to the people of planet Earth, okay? While even now, modern physicists are guessing at the chances of there being life in the cosmos elsewhere and coming to the understanding of how consciousness affects matter, how matter affects consciousness, what is dark matter, how everything is interlinked, the infinite expansion nature of the universe. It is coming after calling the culture that already had done all of that as tribal and undeveloped, when just because they had cotton clothes on and didn't stuff themselves with meat until they died of disease, but were living in harmony with the earth agriculturally, environmentally, socially, in tune with their own bodies and minds, and were capable of already surpassing whatever is existing in 25 technology with their own consciousness. But you couldn't understand all of that, so you called them tribal and backwards and whatever, and misunderstood the entire development of their hundreds of thousands of years of history.
Most jealous thing I have seen somebody do. Like how jealous people put like black magic on the, like, you know, in a village the most beautiful lady is jealous and hated by all the other women. It's the same thing that happened to the Sanatani culture or cultures, that all the lower level beings hated on them. It's just that in Kali Yuga, the hatred, the ignorance is kind of like propagated, and so it is like the whole thing is you get a lot of Rahu to fight from, you get a lot of delusion to cut through, because the person who is evil can come as a sadhu in front of you, can come as somebody very pious, can come as somebody very, you know, like washed by the, I don't know, divine waters or whatever. They can just play that game in Kali Yuga, and that is being played on, and that is why the truth and the reality get suppressed so much. But still, the truth can never be, the sun can never be hidden by the clouds. It does not work like that. The truth does come out, and in places it stays. It is working through places, it is working through ecosystems, environments. If you are somebody who's seeking the truth, you just need to look more. It's not like it's not out there. You just need to look more, you just need to expand more, connect with more of these frequencies by understanding your own value of being born, value of being. Understanding the value of that itself will take you to the truth, because this delusion is after all a delusion. It will be washed away. It will be, the moment there is a candle, the darkness, even if the darkness is thousands of years old, cannot remain. And that is the fun of the being born in this age, is that you can find your own truth. You can develop it on your own self by connecting with the correct things, connecting by following the light.
And the world loves to look through the lens of intellectual development along scientific means as the gauge for what's
science is a narrow project.
No, of course it's a very narrow project. But I'm pointing to the fact that, see, even if you do respect all of the scientific discoveries of the last 1,000 years claimed by Western scientists, and compare them to the scientific discoveries or capacities of the Hindus across the same periods of time, you got to understand, right? Let's just take Albert Einstein for an example. Albert Einstein bowed at the feet of the Vedas and Hindus and said they had a higher and deeper understanding than I'll ever be able to come up with, first off. And I could, whether my quoting is right or wrong, don't get caught in the small things. He did respect and understand the value of the Hindu universal understandings. 1. But 2, 1,000 Albert Einsteins put together could not equal the intellectual capacity of a single Angirasa Rishi. Angirasa Rishi not only understood how all energy in the cosmos functions, the equivalence and the mathematical principles behind all of existence, but knew how to physically reach different places in this universe off planet, go physically, how to keep his own physical body alive while transiting lokas, dimensions, physical space and time, receive something of extreme value from that highly conscious entities of those planes and bring it back to Earth and give it to us. That is incomparable value to the invention of E equals MC squared.
Definitely. But that's what I'm saying, the narrow project, that certain people should come out, some certain races, certain nationality only should be highlighted. That whole narrowness of present day science, that it only serves researches and develops for wars and for certain group of nationality and people, is the whole drawback of current day science. That there is, in older times, the the scientists were outside, the researchers, the rishis were outside of the kingdom. They were not directly treated as the citizens, so that their researches could be independent and whole humanity can benefit from it. It was not serving the king. But in today's era, science is serving the governments of the countries for their interests. And that is why science is unreliable in today's world, because we can be getting half information, which is very dangerous.
You see that all these billionaires of the planet, or millionaires, whatever, everyone's interested in certain subjects. There are so many fanatic understandings that are taken forward in the guise of modern desire, such as, Elon Musk as an example, and his pursuit of reaching Mars and all that. Why? Because our capacity to travel interplanetarily has been something that actually existed already and is a capacity we have, and we aren't living up to our capacity, one, in that dimension. And the same way, why? Anti-aging, the science of immortality, the science of keeping your body alive, young, as long as possible, is something that millionaires and billionaires are fanatic about.
Yeah, because they know there is more on Earth.
is because they understand the value of life, one. They understand the value of long-term wealth creation and the capacities it gives you to experiment with the creation capacity of your consciousness as well, though. But, you know, the people who are chasing that longevity are then using all these modern means to do so, which includes a lifestyle that is just unpleasant. It's not pleasant to take 200 pills a day in order to anti-age in your 40s and have lighter, fairer skin with less melanin damage, and then claim that because your blood tests look a certain way because you stuff yourself with pills on a daily basis, you're anti-aging. There are rishis that lived for thousands of, I can bet my life on it, that there are currently beings alive in India, in the forests of India, sadhus who are alive over 200 years old, currently living. I guarantee it. I can bet my life on it. Who's meeting them, relating with them, whatever, is a separate question. But that there are historical records. As an example, Trilingaswamy of Varanasi, just to give a name, Trilingaswamy of Varanasi was easily alive for 300 plus years. Was he bothered about the muscular tone of his calf muscle or how much melanin was on his cheek and using that as the parameter for anti-aging? No, he used the fact that he could survive happily in a body for 300 years and the lifestyle required for that, the super conscious development required for that. So it's all about what really has the value. Does living longer? So that's what I'm saying. At least the value of the things that are even sought by the elite class of the world in 25 is something that was long ago had by Hindus. Long ago. And done way better, way more magnificently, way more lavishly than we could do for the next hundreds of years of development.
We cannot develop. If this is like denying your roots, how far can a tree grow if it denies its roots? It is the roots, which is your past, which is the civilization, which has been holding this earth. We were researching now how old is the Ramayana that we read. It is millions of years old that Ram happened. And so it is, and before him also this civilization was there. So even little knowledge can, Swamiji says that even little knowledge will liberate you.